Hey, I'm Jacob, welcome to Choo. I made a delicious mead out of wild flowers. I mean, they're kind of wild. I just found a bunch of edible flowers in my garden. Some were cultivated, some just popped up randomly, fermented them, and turned them into a mead. So stick around because in this video I'm going to show you how to make this very, very interesting concoction from edible flowers that you can probably find just around the place, like just around the local park, provided dogs haven't peed on them, and I'm waffling again, so let's get stuck right into it, eh? Oh, 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 ah, oh, oh. So mead is just honey wine. Wine made from fermenting honey. You probably know this already, especially if you've been following my stuff. We've done a ton of mead videos. Check out our homebrew playlist. But you can flavor that with all kinds of different stuff, what we call botanicals, to create different types of mead. I didn't follow a recipe for this one. I just kind of winged it, which is why it's a little bit funky, I think, because some of the flowers I used were a bit bitter, but it tastes fine, especially, I'll show you what I've done to it anyway. So, that's nice. It is. I back sweetened it, that's why. When it first came out of the thing, aged for a little bit, it was a bit wonky. Once back sweetening, it's good. So first I ran around and collected a bunch of flowers I know to be edible, or at least edible in small doses. So pigface, or Carpo brutus, is a common plant around South Australia coastlines, and it's entirely edible, including the flowers. And we will be featuring this awesome little dude in an upcoming video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We've used it in cooking in the past, but we've never really talked about it. It is a fantastic food and a fire retardant that you could keep in your yard. It's really pretty, the flowers are delicious. You can make meat out of it, you can eat it, so stay subscribed for that. I also collected some flowers from some rocket, 2 varieties of lavender, which are also edible, plenty of onion weed. The leaves are kind of grassy in flavor and work well as a savory garnish. We've done a number of onion weed videos as well, so check those out if you want to find out a great way to utilize this common weed. I also used some broad bean flowers. I also found some sour sobs. It's so common in Australia for us as kids to pick these up off the side of the road on the way to school and just suck on the end. They have like a very sour, a bitter sweet. It's like a poor person's version of a sour warhead, at least that's what it was for me. Stupid Richie Riches, like why would you pay money on candy when you can suck on piss flavored flowers, you know? I mean, and I threw in some creeping rosemary flowers, and a little bit of rosemary I think ended up in there, which will add some good fragrance. It might be a little bit bitter, but the honey should be alright. And finally I threw in some nigella flowers. These are totally edible, though rather flavorless. They do look and smell awesome and work for a great garnish on both sweet and savory things. So I chucked a few of those in as well, dog. Then I removed as much green as possible while keeping predominantly the petals, and the rest is pretty standard.
Hey.
Give the flowers a slight blast in hot water if you're worried about bugs and bacteria. You don't have to do this though, you can wing it. Then add it to your mead as usual. I used approximately the 1-to-3 ratio. So 1 part honey, so 25%, about 500 grams, and 3 parts water. So this will make about 2 liters of mead, or just under. I'm doing a very small batch this time. So this will definitely be on the lower end of the alcohol spectrum, and I either forgot to or didn't film a gravity reading. So just like in the good old days in ancient times, I'm just winging it. I don't know what this alcohol content is going to be like, because I forgot to take that initial reading, or at least I haven't written it down. However, in my experience, I have a rough idea if I add this much honey to this much water, provided the yeast is good, I assume I'm going to get X amount. So this could be anywhere from 9 to 12% ABV by the time we're done. Then you're just going to want to let that sit somewhere warm but not too hot for about 3 weeks or so, and then it comes time to rack. Racking simply means moving the mead or the wash or whatever you've got from one container to another, usually by siphoning, with the aim to leave spent yeasts and sediment behind. You can see over time, yeast and gunk settles at the bottom. The sediment is fine to drink, but it's not that tasty and thus not that desirable. Also, by racking, we can get a clearer looking mead, which is just aesthetically pleasing. After racking, you can stabilize and back sweeten if you want. I have a video on how to do that, so check that out because it's a little bit complicated, but once you get your head around it, it's fine. It's pretty essential if you're going to bottle stuff, especially in warmer climates. I didn't bother stabilizing this time because I just threw it in the fridge and gassed it. I'll explain how that works in a little bit. So I didn't back sweeten, I didn't stabilize, I just threw it in the fridge for about 1 month, essentially cold crashing it. Cold crashing is when you put it in a cold environment. It's in the video, check it out. It usually doesn't take about a month to cold crash, I just forgot about it. So after a month, you can see there's even more sediment has collected on the bottom of the bottle. So to really clear this one up, I racked it again. Essentially, you don't want to move this too much, but I moved it outside just because it looked better on camera, or it looked shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. Once I racked it again, I aged it for about 2 months, and then it's pretty much ready to drink. Probably you want to age that for another 4 months. The whole time, since leaving the fermenter, it's been about 4 months. Ideally, you want about a minimum 6 months, but what, I guess, yeah, I'm thirsty, man, come on. When I had this on the shelf, I burped it every week or so just by unscrewing the cap just for like 1 second and putting it back on. Even though there was no sugar in this according to my final gravity reading, there could have still been some off-gassing, or maybe I misread it, and you don't want too much gas to build up. It's fine for it to build up a little bit because it could just carbonate your mead. Carbonated mead on the lower end of the spectrum makes for really good session drinking. It's quite delicious. I didn't have to stabilize this at all. I often do recommend doing that though, but I just didn't do it this time. Just couldn't be stuffed. Because it ran through, it means it's essentially the yeast has eaten all the sugar. So this is really dry, and because I used some interesting choice there were some interesting flowers that I used, like the onion weed, oniony, the broad beans, kind of muddy, the flowers, and the rocket was bitter. So those shine through quite a lot. On the nose, it just smells like a young mead, kind of yeasty. Obviously sweet, you can taste the honey, smell the honey. Thick. Definitely this could use some age. Just tastes like a young mead, but some of those bitter florally characteristics are coming through, because like I said, the flowers I use were probably a poor choice. I just use always just whatever I've got. So what I made here was a honey water solution. So not only will this proof it down a little bit, it'll also add some sweetness. I used a raw blue gum honey. So this is a bone dry mead with a really sweet honey solution. Just put a little drop in there like that. Give that a swirl. Oh yeah. Immediately better. Whoa, okay. That's actually quite good. It is complex though. I can't imagine newcomers would enjoy this, but if you're looking for something a bit funky, a bit weird. Now with that sweetness, like I predicted, that has totally offset some of those bitter flavors, but this is a what's the word, like an earthy. It's an earthy tasting mead, for sure. Mead typically is an acquired taste anyway because it is a little bit weird, it's a little bit raw, it just doesn't have heaps of processing done to it typically, especially if you buy good meads or make your own. This could definitely benefit from some time. I reckon if you let that sit for 6 months to a year up from now, that would taste really, really, really good. There's no substitute for time in my opinion. People add all kinds of different stuff, but this is definitely drinkable. It's not the best thing I've ever made, but it was fun.
They say Jakey was a good boy, never want to be late, coming up with homebrew ideas in his brain. Brewing sunflower mead, making friends with honeybees, Nigella's pig face and flowers that taste like me. He just wanders around, unaffected by the winter winds, yeah. Making drinks with weeds. He is somewhere else, so far and free, drunk in the Adelaide Hills from flower mead.
I've been Jacob, and you've been watching Choo. If you like bastardization versions of Jack Johnson songs and or mead making, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we got lots and lots of fun concoctions coming up in the future. Lots more fishing, hunting, and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for more fun adventures with me. And see you next time. Cheers.